Even the dead have a story to tell. These are just some of the hundreds of thousands of Syrians who have died in Syria since 2011. The first 100,000 victims documented, one by one, in the Book of Syria's Dead, Volume 1. Nada Hasham is one of 4 Syrian activists who decided to compile the names of all the victims.
Now we're hearing over 400,000 people have been killed in Syria. They're not just numbers, they're people. They're all people with families, people who had dreams. They're people that could have contributed to the world, but they were stripped of that opportunity, and the world is at loss.
According to the Syrian Network for Human Rights, regime forces have been responsible for the vast majority of deaths, killing nearly 185,000 people out of the 200,000 reported since the conflict began in March 2011 and up until March 2016. What began as peaceful protests against Bashar al-Assad's leadership in 2011 has now turned into a full-scale war with many players involved.
If we look through the book, we can see that in the beginning, the causes of death are mostly shooting, some shelling, kidnapping, and torture. And then as you flip through the book, later on you see warplane shelling and detention and execution, and you keep going and going, and eventually you'll start seeing chemical weapons, shelling, barrel bombs, and I think the international community knows the actors that are committing these crimes, who has access to the airspace.
The name Mahmoud Dayab Dahir appears in the first 100 pages of the book. The 30-year-old father of 2 was shot dead in Deraa in March 2011, the first city to revolt against the rule of Bashar al-Assad. Syrian soldiers and snipers were sent in to crush the rebellion. Anyone caught leaving their homes was shot, and if soldiers refused to fire on people, they were executed. Kidnappings and torture followed. This man remains unidentified. His body was found on the side of a road in Aleppo, clearly tortured and shot 7 times. Next came the bloodiest period of the conflict in 2012, as government rockets and planes pounded rebel positions.
We have schools being targeted, hospitals, MSF, their own hospitals were targeted, and the governments around the world know who's committing these crimes, and it's their responsibility to protect the civilians, and that's what we will continue to ask for.
The book also contains an entire section of victims, the vast majority unidentified, who were killed in barrel bomb and chemical weapons attacks. On August 21, 2013, 36-year-old Anas Abd al-Salam al-Mardoud was among the 1,000 people, mainly women and children, who died when up to 1,000 kilograms of the deadly nerve agent sarin was dropped on the rebel-held suburbs of Ghouta.
We really wanted to honor them as much as we could. They sacrificed their life for what they had been asking for, which was just basic human rights. Right to speech, right to living, eating, breathing. So the least we could do is record them in a respectable way.
As the Syrian war has entered its 6th year, the death toll continues to rise. And Nada Hasham and her friends continue to keep a record of the dead, one name at a time. Pirovalakis, The Newsmakers.